Welcome back to the FoMSCast, everybody. My name is Mike. I'm your VP, Advocacy, Accessibility, and Equity. It's a very special episode of the FoMSCast. We are here with one of our USC presidential candidates. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Michael. My name is Mauritius Sarofiem, and like you introduced me, I'm running to be your next USC president. Would you like me to share a bit about myself?
Yeah, why don't you, what faculty are you in? How long you been at Western? Just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a fourth-year student. I am doing a double major. I'm doing a major in medical sciences, so that's with Faculty of Science, and a major in psychology, so with social science over there. A little bit of a mixture.
Yeah.
Been involved in a variety of different things throughout my 4 years. A little bit of clubs, been in things like Autism Western, Rotaract with the Juvenile Diabetes Camp, Science Council all 4 years, currently the Science Student Council president, part of the Purple Care trustees, which is the health insurance here, and 2-time science soft. It's been a lovely time here at Western, truly. It's enjoyable.
Were you a soft this past week?
Yeah. I was a soft this past week with Ava Max and everything.
Oh, that concert. Well, it was interesting. I was also there. I was at Music LST.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Were you there last year too?
I was. I've been softing since second year. Yep.
Amazing.
So all 3 years, and then this year I was LST, which was awesome.
Which concert did you like more, this year or last year's?
Well, I have beef with T-Pain.
Spill.
Okay. And I've told this story I think twice on this podcast before, but I'll happily tell it again. Basically, so you know how the music soft team, we do like our little thing on stage where we sing songs and we we change the words to make them like week themed. So we had to do a sound check for that for closing ceremonies at like 2 p.m. Closing didn't start till like 7, but the T-Pain security was like nobody goes in or out backstage while T-Pain's there. So we had to do our sound check at like 2 and just sit there for hours. We weren't allowed to leave.
Gosh, no.
And it was in the sun and everything. So it was like an August day.
Yeah, I remember the T-Pain concert was remarkably sticky and sweaty.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I don't even think he was that good because a lot of the times he just kind of, when it would get to his part in the song, he would just do this.
Yeah, he just let people sing away.
Ridiculous.
No, I have to agree with you, but for different reasons. Yeah, he didn't sing much, but for me, that entire concert, like I like this year's concert because it was, first of all, not sticky, not sweaty. Ava sang. And I feel like it was safer overall. Last year, I was inside a soft circle, not outside. I was inside it with an individual for the better part of the entire concert. Yeah. It was an experience, definitely. I'm glad this year I feel the safety was far better.
Yeah, and they brought in outside security too
this
year, which was helpful. So first of all, this is the first time I've ever written down questions.
Oh, wow.
So today I'm
what an honor.
5% more prepared than I usually am. So the debate was, what was that? Was that last night or the night before? Thursday night, right?
Thursday night, yeah.
How do you feel coming out of that?
It was an experience, you know. I was going in. I've definitely been dreaming about this debate for a while now, ever since like October. But I was happy with how it went. The Gazette asked me questions that I was very glad I got a chance to clarify because I feel like I was misrepresented. They kept saying I have a 55-page platform and didn't release anything short. But I released both at the same time, 9:30 a.m. last Monday. I released a short form and a long form one. The only reason I even made a long form one was to show students, hey, yeah, we need it to be digestible, but if you want to keep me in check, if you want to keep me accountable, here's how we're doing stuff, here's the solutions. But with regards to the responding, I was quite happy. I was glad with how I responded. I felt very confident. I had a great conversation with the candidates afterwards as well. Sure, got intense at some moments, definitely, but I was happy with how it went overall. Gotta say so.
That's good. I did look at the platforms, and I did find interesting how you had your short form, which was all your points, and then you went into a lot of detail in your long form, and I thought it was interesting. You're like, here's the issue, here's how we're gonna solve it. I think that's something you don't see in a lot of candidates. They don't outline exactly how they're gonna deal with things, which I think was really cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Section in 3 words or less, describe your platform.
Ooh, attainable, tangible, and high impact. Yeah, that's how I go with it.
Do you want to elaborate on any of those?
Sure thing. So when writing this platform, I didn't focus much on long-term abstract advocacy, and I didn't want to promise large-scale expensive events that would either mean budget cuts, service removals, or increasing students' ancillary fees by either up to like 7%, which the USC could do without asking, or needing a referendum to bring things about. We already have great events. We bring in big name artists. We do indoor skating rinks. We do wonderful puppy yogas, crafts nights, all of that. I plan on continuing it. But I want to focus on the problems students are facing through some of my consultations, because I sometimes just went up to people I haven't met before and said, hey, like, I'm just wondering what problems you see at Western. And then when I asked them, like, oh, what do you think of, or what do you think the USC is? Funny enough, a couple people said the exact same word for word phrasing. It was, oh, yeah, the USC, they do late night breakfast and the concerts. And I'm like, this is true. But if that's the only thing it's known for, then that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because USC is an advocacy body. It leads the clubs. It's supposed to be there for you and solve your issues. So we've been focused on the big scale items and the big pictures at the USC for quite a while now. But I feel it's time to focus on the problems at hand before we bring about more things that will add to students.
Yeah. So one of the things you said during the debate was when you were talking about, I think, something similar, and you said something along the lines of, like, one of the things you want to do is have more working groups, more round tables, because that doesn't require a budget. You can just do it.
For sure.
What kinds of, like, topics would these, like, working groups, round tables be for? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, sure. So this was a question asked by Gazette, because they asked me, oh, we'll use many resources. But the way it was worded it was as if it was going to be financial. Not the case, really. If you'll realize, my platform goes into many different groups, one of which is like cultural clubs. Oftentimes, the USC will come forward to cultural clubs and say, hey, we thought of this event. You want to come or not? Or we're doing this. Where's your dance team? Do you have a dance team? Come with. Not every cultural group has a dance team. Not each cultural club will want to participate in X activity. They're not part of the planning stage ever. It will be nice if we could have a co-creational approach with them, a round table for them. Another one could be like the vice president finance roundtables that I'm thinking of. Currently, there's for all the faculty councils, one for academic and one for support/advocacy equivalent, right? Yeah. But there's none for finance. And the reason a financial roundtable would be so important is, one, it helps each council see how their money is spent. And two, when it comes to the student donation fees, each council uses them in such a drastically different manner. But I'm not planning on changing that. I think each council is fully autonomous from the USC, but they need to be empowered. With my consultations with most of the faculty council presidents, they're telling me, hey, sometimes we struggle on even accessing these donation funds because our faculties are telling us, hey, we might be keeping them from you going forward. But if you look through, I have went through like Board of Governors documents ways back to find when these initial agreements were made. Most were around 1994.
Really?
And they haven't been signed again since. So I'm currently working on rewriting and re-signing the Science Council one. And over there it said all the money is to go for the betterment of the student experience, academically and experiential, and to go towards the faculty councils. It was a referendum. It was voted on by the students of each faculty and passed. Nowhere does it say the faculty has any overseeing of it because it's a student fund. It's optional, right? Now, the crazy part is it says at the last clause, at least for the science one, Gazette and Western News must be reported to for all fees and costs you use in this fund. So I'm like, oh, neat. So I went to Gazette actually just a couple months back, and I'm like, hey, did you guys know this? And they're like, oh, no, we did not. And I'm like, well, let me know. Let's work on something. So they might have something in progress there. It would be nice if this roundtable could empower each vice president of finance to see what's happening in each one and have us stand against smaller faculties in particular that are trying to prevent their students, their student councils from bettering their student experiences.
I didn't know any of that actually. That was
A lot happens behind the scenes.
so that's like that $100 student donation.
Yeah. So
Huh.
it differs for each faculty.
Yeah.
Music, then maybe if you're saying 100, it'll probably be there. Science around like 70. Health science like 100. It differs all over the faculties, but how it's also used can sometimes be disproportionately affecting a student under a program like in health science. They split it up between the associations. Some get more, some get less. It depends depending on your faculty.
Yeah.
Each system's different, and it should be different. Just also needs better transparency for the students to know, hey, sometimes I'm at this event and I don't know what's being funded with my money. It'd be nice because that way maybe students would like to stay in. They'd see the beauty of it all. Yeah.
One of the things you said during the debate was that the USC doesn't really give people a reason to care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So music students, we have one of the busiest workloads on campus, like on par with engineering. We have so much we have to do. What do you think, or do you have any plans to like help boost engagement, especially the people who maybe want to be involved, but it's hard to justify it because we have so much to do?
I actually have a platform point exclusively on music students and people who do music here at Western. So I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, music students are of the busiest people. Sometimes people don't recognize they have a workload equal to, if not more sometimes, to engineering, which is a load of its own. One of the things I'd like to do is, maybe you won't have time to be involved, but as a music student or someone who's musically inclined at Western, you'll want to be getting gigs. You'll want to be getting that exposure, and you're going to want to get paid. So one of the things I saw was the USC sometimes prioritizes outside DJs or pre-recorded music in some of their events. Now, I get that. For like week headliners, we'll bring big name artists, sure. But for all the other events where we're sometimes having DJs from outside of Western, we sometimes bring Western DJs like Jiva, for example, but from outside, why not? Like, why not we focus on the ones from our community, the ones who are at Western and trying to make it, give them an opportunity for a gig to get experience, gain exposure, and get paid, because we would have paid another DJ anyway. Now, another reason is, from a different perspective, the USC is hoping to potentially have a gala this year. This would be mainly, I think, for like the graduating students. Now, the plan right now might be to get like pre-recorded music or to have like a band of some sort, but nothing is outlined to consult with the music students first. Something like that. It'd be nice to collaborate with one of the many ensembles or one of the many bands, depending on the vibe they're trying to go with. Yeah. We could go with some of the pop bands here at Western, either affiliated with the faculty or not. We got a bunch of them. Or jazz ensembles or the orchestras or the chambers, depending on the vibe. Prioritize these students. Get them these experiences. Give them paid opportunities. It would all be feasible because these events are going to happen anyways, and there's a budget allocated for it. Just a matter of what do we prioritize? And it doesn't take away from the student experience because it's just beautiful that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't, I don't think they realize how many like performers we have, because I mean, we have a Bachelor of Music Performance degree. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's mainly classical, but you've got like your string quartets. You got a ton of these kinds of groups. Yep. And we've also got a whole pop program at West.
It's huge.
One of the best in Canada.
Yeah.
And so many students who are absolutely willing to work and who want a space to showcase their skills. But people that are like experts in music production, DJing, we've got all those kinds of people, and I think there definitely needs to be more opportunities on campus where students can play.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're all the way down the hill. People forget about us. We're like,
no, I'm with you, and it's unfortunate because, as I was telling you before we started recording, I'm a fan of everything the music faculty does and all the music students. I try my best to make it to as many like 12 p.m.s on Fridays, and that definitely started off with Light of East ensemble that I attended like I think 2 years ago, where I saw that like ensemble as well as like music students come perform, and I'm like, first of all, this is free for me, like a Western student, and I get to see like my fellow peers perform me that well. It's unfortunate because you guys are also in a far space away from the center of campus.
That's true.
Like the only reason I found out about that ensemble happening It's because I had a linear algebra class at Talbot College and I saw a poster.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to see a poster maybe at like UCC natural science, but you definitely need more exposure, even in just like the advertising, because you guys are actively doing so much, but not many know about it. So it would be better to bring you to where the action's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that our faculty needs to do more of, because people, we have a bad habit of trying to avoid walking up the hill whenever we can.
Yeah.
We need to get like a one of those like ski lifts.
Oh yeah.
That kind of, you answered a little bit, but if you want to maybe go more in depth,
sure.
One of the questions here is, why is the faculty of music important to you? We're a small faculty. I'm pretty sure we're the smallest. There's not a lot of votes there. I think most candidates might be able to do without us. So,
look, when it comes to leadership, I said this during the debate, and I've said this everywhere really, because it's something I always try to keep in mind. Leadership is a service. To be a leader is to be a servant for the people. I can't do this job if I were to be elected unless I can represent as many people as humanly possible. So I'm a true extension, not just of whatever biggest faculties there are, but of every single student on this campus. Now, yeah, your music faculty might be smaller. That doesn't negate your importance as each and every individual. At my booths when we're at UCC, sometimes I get large groups of people and we'll talk for a while. Other times I get one individual and we'll talk for 40, 50 minutes. Just one singular conversation. Now, which one's more important, that singular student or that large group? Both to me are equal. Sure, vote-wise, there's more numbers there. But that one student may have had more of an impact on them. Maybe through that conversation that I spent more time on, they'll have understood the systems better, and they'll have understood how to get the help needed and how to really take advantage of the things offered. And from there, it starts a chain. It starts a cycle of people knowing, people being educated, and that brings about forth more leaders, more activists, and more people are participating. Sure, students, like music faculty, may be smaller, but it doesn't negate what you guys do. And like I said earlier, I have a lot of respect for it. The work ethic is arguably unmatched. The practice hours, beautiful. People don't realize that part of your homework and assignments, aside from your workload, you have to be actively practicing to be able to continue in your program, succeed, or thrive. That's not even something you're assigned. That's just expected of you, right? Yeah. So, sure, maybe the smallest, but each one counts.
I think one of the most underrepresented groups in our faculty are our dance minor friends.
Yeah.
Especially because like some people don't even know that there is a dance minor, and people that do know don't always know that it's a part of the faculty of music.
I only found out about it last year.
Yeah. So you've in the debate you promised dancers guaranteed space out of the Mustang Lounge. So I'm just wondering what would that look like, and how would you ensure like equity amongst groups, like who gets to book it and when, and how is that space being distributed fairly, I guess.
Yeah. So dance was definitely one of the most it was one of the hardest points to work into this platform, because it has been a platform point on many presidential candidates' platforms for years. The most recent one being Sunday Ajak, then Emily Kalajian, but we still have issues finding dance spaces. So when I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I want to solve it, but I don't want to be the third candidate who says dance spaces and then not much happens. Although I'll give kudos to Emily. I can't remember much about Sunday, so I won't speak positive, negative. Much respect to there too. Emily, I know, got portable mirrors, which helps, meaning that when you book the community room, you're able to like dance properly. But we still struggle with the spaces. So we have our dance minor, and their classes are over at Alumni Hall.
Which, if I might add, I was talking to our dance representative on the faculty council, and she was telling me that the caretakers don't even go in there anymore. It's the teacher of the dance class. She's the one that's cleaning that space. It hasn't been touched by the custodians in who knows how long.
Professor Barb, I think, right?
I think, yeah. And so, and it's in the basement of Alumni Hall, right? Where
I did not know that part. That's quite unfortunate, and that's definitely something I'd like to advocate on now, knowing that. But good to know. I appreciate you telling me. So back to your point about that. I'll tell you what I said it regarding Mustang Lounge. So I know we have our dance minors. I know we have our USC clubs, which some are dance clubs and some are just clubs that have dance teams.
Yeah.
And we know we have like an array of competitive dance teams here at Western too, right? So when I found out about this alumni hall space, I was like, oh, neat. That's a space I could try to advocate on and like try to open up for students. But then I took some time to think, and I'm like, okay, but maybe for the dance minors, getting more practice there would be appropriate. But it wouldn't be appropriate for the clubs or the teams because this is, after all, an academic space that coincides with the program. So that's like me asking chemistry to open up their labs for the science students to practice some more.
Fair.
So I'm like, okay, that's not something feasible. That's not something I'll go with. But then I'm like, how do I advocate on in-house? Because classrooms are not under USC jurisdiction, and quite frankly, you could have always booked classrooms if you were a club. It's just the problem is there's a ton of tables, not a lot of space.
Yeah.
Mustang Lounge, USC jurisdiction. That west wing, where there aren't any studies, like any tables or study spaces, is so heavily underutilized. Sometimes you could book it for rehearsals, sure, but there isn't a way where multiple clubs or groups could book it. So I thought, let's start off with the clubs. Let's start off with the ratified clubs. Let's work through there. Because a lot of them take up spaces in the social science tunnel and the UCC basement.
Yeah.
Not because they're trying to take up the space, but because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, let me see how we could split it up. I thought we could use the front. So not the stage, but the front end, the left end, and the right end. This would mean 3 groups at any given time with how much space there is. And they could be pretty large groups as well fitting in there. I did think, okay, how about the music playing simultaneously? And I thought about, what if we get soundproof walls? Now, that wouldn't have fit with my style of the platform because that would have been remarkably expensive. And it would have been a capital point that I did not want to promise right away. Maybe after taking over, I could see if there's leftover budget for it. But I know the music teams here have a very kind agreement with one another not to outpower any of the music. So I'm like, all right, how could we make it better? We need more portable mirrors, get some more of those. And through talking with some people in the dance minor, I've discovered, and dance teams, I've discovered there's such a thing called Marley floors. It's like a certain type of flooring that could roll out, roll in.
Yeah.
And is a less expensive investment than removing all the flooring there is and adding springboard flooring. Gives some nice traction, some nice glide, and a little bit of bounce there. So I thought, okay, that solves the issue of for a little bit. We reserve it from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. every single day, with the exceptions of if Theater Western's doing rehearsals or if there's the poster sales, then that would be the exception.
Yeah.
With regards to the dance teams, I'm like, okay, they've been trying to represent Western for ages, and they go and compete and represent Western, but not officially. It'd be better if we could try to advocate for them to achieve varsity club status. Now, though hard, it is feasible, and I do have a very strong arguing point for it. In my platform, you'll see I've mentioned an array of universities who have already varsity clubs for dance. From Guelph to Waterloo to many others. These exist, so there's a case to be made. Now, the hard part is I want them to get that varsity club status because then that would open up their access to 2 studio rooms in the rec center, which are equipped with springboard flooring, mirrors, and nice acoustics already going on, which suits their needs better. Now, with regards to the dance minor students, after learning about the caretaking, I definitely like to advocate there. But I would like to work out how we could open up this space for alumni hall for them, because this is part of their academics. So it would be nice if we could advocate for their academic program to give them more academic time. In that case, it would be suitable for this group and this group alone. But I wouldn't mind looking at a deal, making a deal with them, such as I wouldn't mind making a deal with competitive teams that aren't USC clubs, looking to see how they could use USC spaces such as the Mustang Lounge, the community room, or the club space, so that way they could practice a little more.
Yeah. And so one other thing you mentioned is that varsity status.
Yeah.
and making those competitive teams our varsity teams.
Varsity clubs.
Varsity clubs.
Yeah, the reason I differentiate hard is because varsity teams have their own status, and then varsity clubs have their own world. Both get some level of funding. Varsity teams way more. Now, I initially going into this wanted to make it a varsity team, but I could not find any other university who has a varsity dance team. Now, it might be under their varsity website, but if you look into like the terms and conditions, it'll be a varsity club. So they get their logo, they get some funding, they get to represent, but they're not a team. So I didn't want to fight with a case that I didn't have a good background in, but I found there's a case to be made with the varsity clubs. So sorry to jump in. I just wanted to make sure.
I didn't know there was a difference.
Yeah, me neither, until I really talked with a lot of dancers, even some people in the dance minors, competitive teams, and the clubs, and they taught me because I'm not a dancer. This isn't my area of expertise, so I just had to take a step back, listen, and get taught.
Yeah, well, that's I didn't know that those were two different things, because I was gonna say, varsity is under the athletics department. I don't know if you know this. They're a pain in the ass.
I hear it's a hard world over there, even for the teams already established.
I was a part of the marching band for 3 years. That's under athletics. So is the cheerleading, and we have a lot of the same hours of and practices and everything as the varsity teams, but we also don't have that status. We don't have that funding, and the athletics department is notoriously difficult to deal with.
And you guys provide a great service too. I know the Western Fight song by absolute heart. I lead it in every council meeting I have, from the Kinini Kanadis to all the way. It's unfortunate, truly, because especially since marching band goes a lot with the football team, it's ironic because the football team is one of the most well-funded teams. Oh, for sure. And since you guys, as well as the cheerleading teams, are always there in tandem, shocking to hear, but not surprised.
So, we're going to shift to another thing that you mentioned, because I watched the debate.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I don't even take notes in class.
It's an honor that you took notes there.
But so music students, we have a lot of extra expenses so we have lesson fees that are added onto our tuition, which makes it more expensive. Instrument maintenance, we have to pay for our pianists when we play alongside our pianists. That's required, and so on. And so there are some students where once they leave residence, they struggle with buying enough food, especially groceries. Like, a lot of people really aren't eating enough as they should because of these rising prices. I know you talked about a couple different ideas you had. So the USC already has a food support office in the basement. What other resources were you thinking of implementing to address this with the growing, the rising cost of groceries?
Yeah, felt. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, especially in a feasible way. Yeah. So when working through it, I considered so much. And I considered, okay, can we bring prices down ourselves? But unfortunately, if I were to say that wouldn't happen. Yeah. Because it's not something feasible yet again. So some of the things I'm proposing are humble, truly, but better than nothing. First off, partnering up either to have a food recollection program or a partnership with something like Too Good To Go. Now, Western has started partnering up with local communities and shelters and redistributing the foods at residence to the local lending community in order to help reduce food waste and give people food who might not otherwise have. This isn't necessarily impacting our very own, right? Good. We're helping the community. I want us to help the community more. In fact, I volunteer in initiatives like this and have since high school. But as students first in this role, one of the things I'm proposing is sometimes when I go to large-scale catering events here at Western, either from Wave Catering or Great Hall Catering, the amount of time I see untouched sandwiches, I see untouched packaged food go to waste is unruly. I talk with the people catering and they're like, I sometimes just am passing by an event that was catered and finishing. They're like, "Hey, do you want anything? We're gonna throw it out." And I'm like, "It's in a package. they're like, yeah, it's policy. It's gonna be tossed now. It has not been touched. It's not been exposed. It has not been contaminated.
Yeah.
Why don't we have an opt-in program such as some universities in the States? This is where I got the ideas from. So after large-scale catering events, they have a system where students could opt in, an email system, send an email blast. They say, hey, this place, this time, right now we have extra. Please come take. Students go, flocks, take food, and that helps ease some of the demand. Now, for example, another thing is spoken wave. Whenever there's leftover food, if it's like leftover food off people's place, obviously, I've found out at least they have a system in place where it gets composted. So there's sustainability there. I'm glad. Now, with regards to leftover materials, like leftover raw groceries that have not gotten expired, but they're just not in use anymore, or leftover donuts by end of day, which they need to throw out and get a new batch in. Currently, there isn't really a system in place that can help give it to students at either a free or a reduced cost. I'd like to look at either giving it for free or making a partnership with something such as Too Good To Go. The grocery store actually already has this partnership, but it's not well communicated because I only found out about it through consultations with students.
I'm just learning about it right now.
Right? So, although it exists, I could tell you I'm going to make it exist over there too, but if we're not well advertising it, it might as well not exist.
Yeah.
So, it'd be beneficial if we could do something like that and advertise it, or just make it free and hand stuff out if it was about to go to waste. I did hear that there currently is a system where, so after consultation with some USC staff, where some of these donuts very recently are offered to staff members of the USC at a 40% off cost. But there isn't a lot of demand there, and it stays, and oftentimes it still gets thrown out because nobody wants to purchase it. It's still, respectfully, food on campus isn't the cheapest, and while I can't do much about it, I recognize that.
Yeah.
So if it's destined for waste in the end, why not give it for free? If it's still in good condition, it's just policy to throw it out and get a new batch the next day. Give it for students for free if you're just going to make other people pay for it and they don't want to invest in it. My solutions are very much trying to find innovative ways in order to combat this crisis until we could find a more beneficial way through the various forms of government, primarily in this instance, provincial, to help the costs there.
Yeah. Okay, so last question, and
Sure.
then I'll let you mention anything else you want to.
Sure.
In your own words, what do you believe is the role of the USC president?
Well, what a question. It's quite a role. It is quite a large-scale role because the USC handles things from your health insurance, Purple Care. It handles all the clubs and its ratifications. It handles Orientation Week. It handles so many of your events. The Spoke, the Wave, the businesses downstairs in the USCC. Those are renters of USC spaces. It's such a multi-tiered role to be USC president because you're not just the president of a council that is to lead, in fact, is to help lead and organize from things from USC councils, faculty presidents, elected officials, coordinators, representatives, alongside working with your executives. You also have to help lead and organize your full-time staff members that have been there for 10, 20, 30 years. And you also have to note that you're not just president. You're the chief executive officer of a $35 million nonprofit organization that is registered with the government. And with that comes immense responsibilities, from keeping alumni relations to making sure everything is right with the books to making sure you make just enough profit for student success but not too much profit or you become a for-profit. It's an insanely beautiful role where you get to fight for students and their advocacy, work for students to solve their problems, work with elected officials to get things done, and make sure everyone from staff to volunteers to coordinators to the whole student body at Western, particularly the undergraduate students, are accounted for and well represented.
Well, thank you very much for for coming on, for doing this. I think it'll
thank
really
you, Michael.
benefit our students who otherwise would have a hard time getting all the messaging. Would you remind us, A, when voting opens, and also anything else you'd like to add?
Sure thing. Voting opens this coming Thursday, January 30th, bright and early in the morning. You're going to get a link sent to your UWO email, and I myself will also be posting that link in my bio. My Instagram account is Mauritius for USC. I have my link tree there with our wonderfully made website. Which, fun fact, I made it in like around a 7-hour spree, just from like a night and day. That was a very interesting experience. Last time I made a website was in the 9th grade intro to business class. Haven't taken a business course since, but voting opens January 30th, bright and early in the morning, roughly around 8 a.m. You're going to get a link sent there. And it closes February 3rd. Couple days to vote there. Go talk to candidates. Learn about what it is. This is a very important role. This role is a paid salaried role. It's around a $52,000 salary with the benefits included. And it's important that money talks, and you're paying a lot of money, maybe around $1,000 of ancillary fees to the USC. Make sure it's going to who you want. And remember, you're not just voting for one candidate. It's a ranked ballot system. So it's important you talk to each and every candidate and see, I want this one first, I want this one second and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, because we have 7 candidates this year. Might be the largest slate in the past decade. Make sure you're able to talk with each one. Message me. Come talk to me at our booth. I'm there every single day, 9 a.m. to 4:30 for the most part. And see what they have to offer. Grill us with questions, because that's what we're here for. We're here to represent you, and you have the right to have your questions answered.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the opportunity to come. Much respect.